right. Hello, welcome to week 11. We are trekking along. It's going so fast. I don't know if that's good or bad, but we're in it together. So I will take that. So for this week, you're doing a week 11 assignment only. Round of applause. Only one thing to do this week, and it's just your readings. So chapter two of DSM 5 TR Made Easy, and then chapter 8 of our psychopharmacology book, and then the whiteness module. Um, I mean, pep talk, you're doing excellent. We're trekking along. This is going faster than you think. We only have a couple of weeks left, so take a deep breath, lean in. You're doing great. I think all of us are feeling just, the government shutdown, the existentialism of being in America in the United States right now, for better or worse. We're all feeling it in some way or some aspect. So for this week, I had uploaded 2 cases for last week. In class, you'll know that I only had us do one of the cases. This week, we're only doing Emma. And we'll have good conversation. We'll go over lecture, all of that stuff. But from now to the end of the semester, if we get out early, we get out early. So rather than trying to squeeze in a bunch of extra stuff and like create a bunch of busy work for us, I am leaning into less is more, as I always tell you. So I am taking my own advice. Less is more. So come ready to have conversation about whiteness. Come ready to have conversation about the readings. We'll do the case. We'll have a good time. We will be there for a good time, but not a long time. That's the other thing I've been saying a lot lately. So if you laughed at my joke, I appreciate you. Thank you. All right. So transitioning, that's it for a weekly overview. Transitioning. But I'm getting too far ahead of myself. We're all going to take a deep breath and ground ourselves. Grounding ourselves. Thank you. Okay. So, journal question. I'm going to stop sharing so we can just lean in to this journal question. So for this journal question, I am deeply reflective on the article that is in there, which is, did this radicalize you really? And the author of this article also wrote several other amazing books. I'm not even going to try to remember them right now, but I follow them on Instagram. I am so grateful for their words, their writings, just how they conceptualize where we're at right now. And I always record this the same week we have class. So I never get the context in of like what's currently happening. And this article and this question's heavy on my mind today because you should have got an email from Dr. Sarcedo announcing another official announcement of the student passing away in the program. And as most of y'all know, this has just been a weird year for me when it comes to grief and loss. And I was thinking about this article because it feels as though lots of people felt radicalized. Lots of folks believed that they were radicalized by the events of 2020 and radicalized by the Black Lives Matter protests or just the things we saw around COVID times, right? Like being on lockdown, being kind of shut away, being in isolation, especially in mental health when we know that community is so important. Like the reason we know that trauma is healed in community, especially collective trauma like 2020, like COVID, collective trauma is only healed in community, is because of what we saw 5 years ago, which is like crazy because now it's like almost 6 years ago. Almost 6 years ago, we experienced the systematic shutdown, systematic lockdown, just the isolation both in work and school and community and life in just in so many different ways. And that is heavy on my mind today because of how the email went out. And we are humans as professors. We are people just like you are. We are messy humans. We make mistakes. We don't get it right all the time. And I was thinking about how grateful I am for all of the grief experiences I've had in 2025, even though they have been like a wild roller coaster ride of ups and downs and memories and experiences and missing home, planning a trip to go back to Laguna Beach right now and just being like, wow, the difference 6 months makes feels huge. And this article, in combination with a conversation with my sister-in-law, and really thinking about, do we practice what we teach? Ooh, do we practice what we teach? Do we practice what we preach? Do we actually believe and practice what we tell our clients? And what does that work look like? And how does it show up for us? And so the journal question for this week is, in what ways can you promote critical thinking and sustained engagement with uncomfortable truths in your counseling practice, particularly when addressing issues of social justice and systematic oppression? This is a time to really reflect on strategies that could help clients navigate complex social issues while fostering a brave space for discussion and growth. In our class, we have 100% had a brave space moment where we talked about like just how folks show up in class, whether they're paying attention or not, if it feels more democratic to have me as the professor bring up a controversial issue or a problem, or if it is more culturally humble, culturally collective to bring that up ourselves as students in a course. And we really leaned into our class norms. So sitting in discomfort, standing in possibility. We also were using our sentence stems to promote humility as a part of our norms. So leaning into, I'm not sure if this makes any sense, or I'm really nervous, scared, uncomfortable to say, and just having a really hard conversation. And giving myself grace and giving the counseling program grace and giving my colleagues grace in times when we may know how to deal with things personally. Like I feel like I am today's years old and also an expert in personal grief and in collective grief right now. Seeing my Arab Amina family just struggle with everything happening in the Middle East, struggle with feeling scared, like especially in the month of October, which brings a lot of change, a lot of just the push into the deep end in October always feels so salient to me. I always feel like something happens in October where I feel like pushed off of the Laguna Beach pier, pushed off the pier into cold, freezing water. October always brings that for me, and I'm realizing it brings it for other people as well. And in that grace and in that forgiveness and in the leaning in of realizing that even as PhD holders, even as licensed clinicians, we are still trying to figure out how to have difficult conversations, how to sit in discomfort and stand in possibility. And there's so many other norms on there that I think are so true for where we are right now in October 2025. We are halfway through another week of a government shutdown. There's lots of things coming out about just SNAP benefits and food access and accessibility and just so many structural and systematic breakdowns that we know in mental health causes so much distress in folks, causes so much anxiety, so much depression. And in our work, too often we are forced to put band-aids on things because we cannot always create the systematic change we want to see happen as one person in community, right? Like I am one person in community and my community is doing its best. You are all doing your best. I strongly do believe that. And we're still coming up short, right? Like, oh God, we're still coming up short. So in what ways can you promote critical thinking and sustain engagement with uncomfortable truths in your counseling practice? The number one way I've done that is I have let go of all perfectionism. I am more than happy, more than willing to admit when I'm wrong, to say that I make mistakes, to just let go of what I don't know, because I know a little bit. I know a lot about a little bit, which is how I got a PhD. Like I kept swimming until they let me graduate with a PhD. And to be Dr. Daniel is such a privilege and such an honor, like such an honor for me to share space with all of you and to have these conversations. And this is the number one way that I lean into uncomfortable truth, that I don't know everything. I am so excited to learn from you, to learn new things. I'm excited to dive into new literature. I love our end of semester presentation because I learned so much from y'all. Like, I could not do this work if I wasn't open to learning new things from you every single day and also getting it wrong, right? Like getting it wrong, getting it incorrect. And more importantly, more importantly, not just saying that I got it wrong, but apologizing. Like I have apologized more this year. I have been behind on grading. I have been behind on life. I have had to lean on other folks that I never thought I would have to lean on. I've had to admit that I don't got it, that I don't have the capacity. I've had to let go of people that I love so dearly and so much because the phase of life I'm in right now no longer supports or validates that relationship. Um, and the vulnerability, like I feel like now vulnerability is my best friend. If I can't show up vulnerable, I'm getting ahead of myself again. If I can't show up vulnerable and authentic, I don't want it. I don't want it. If I can't show up vulnerable and authentic, I don't want it. It's not for me. It's not meant for me. Whatever is meant for me always shows up for me. Anything not meant for me will pass me by. And I am willing to surrender. We talked about surrendering in my group supervision with some of the students I supervise this past Friday. And having that student talk about how important it is to have conversations with clients about surrendering while also realizing that we have to do our own work in surrender. I'm so grateful for them. Like, I'm so grateful that they brought that conversation to supervision and it met me exactly where I needed it to meet me. So when you're thinking about this journal question, whether you read this article or the other articles, they're all fantastic. We are talking about whiteness this week. And more importantly, whether you identify as white or whatever it may be, I really want you to think about how whiteness shows up in your life and how whiteness can like reaffirm perfectionism, how whiteness can cause fear and like mistrust in yourself. And how these ideas of like getting it right usually pushes us to not fumble through it. And I hope more than anything this week in week 11 that you fumble through these conversations and you fumble through the week in a way that's so brave that encourages others to be brave as well. So, yeah, I think that's it for me. Like, yeah, that's just ending, right? Like, I hope you fumble through the week in ways that reminds you and everyone in your community to be brave enough to make mistakes and be willing to apologize for those mistakes. Um, yeah, as always, I'm so grateful for y'all, and I am excited to see you next Thursday. Have a great night, and more importantly, have a fantastic weekend. I hope that your weekend meets you with people who love you and just continue to pour into you. I hope your weekend is filled with people who love you whole. All right. See you next Thursday.